Hey, what's up all? This is Manager 7. Often get into discussions with people about the definition of world in the Bible and how John uses that word. So I figured I'd just show us some verses in the Bible, in the book of John specifically, on how we use the word world. Because so how does John use the word world? Let's see. John 3:13:1. It was just before the Passover feast. Jesus knew that the time had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he now showed them the full extent of his love. So obviously there it's talking about the earth, the physical earth, right? And I put that up. It's talking about the physical earth. And he's not talking about every single person. He's not talking about people. He's talking about the earth. Let's move on. One more verse that's a little different. As you sent me into the world, I have sent them into the world. And yes, this is the physical earth, but also it's not just I sent him on earth. It's I sent him to people, to communities, to speak the truth. He didn't just send them to some region where there was nobody. And no, he sent them to people. So physical earth and to people. John 7:4. No one who wants to become a public figure acts in secret. These were his brothers talking to him, Jesus, and saying, since you are doing these things, show yourself to the world. In other words, they were telling him, you know, you're doing all this stuff, show everybody who you are. Show everybody who you are. Does he mean every single person on the earth? Well, obviously not. Jesus didn't go to the Americas. Jesus didn't go to Alaska. Jesus didn't go to populated areas in all over the world. He was in that area. So another verse that shows that is, I have spoken openly to the world. How does he define that? He says, Jesus replied, I always taught in the synagogues or at the temple where all the Jews came together. I said nothing in secret. So that specifically the Jews, definitely. Anybody who was in that area, but not everybody in the entire world, as we see. So people in that area specifically. The spirit of truth, the spirit of truth is ending the sentence, but then it says the world cannot accept him, the spirit of truth, because it neither sees him nor knows him, but you know him, for he lives with you and he will be in you. So he's obviously not talking about everybody. He's talking about who? The people who choose not to, who are in that moment not believing in him. Who's basically to everybody who's rejecting this, but you know him. So it's not you, it's not every single person, because obviously he has a lot of followers at that point. Maybe not a truckload, obviously, but he has the 12 disciples and some of the women and people who are following him on top of that. One more. I tell you the truth. You will weep and mourn while the world rejoices. You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy. So there's a distinction between people who are rejecting him and people who are accepting him. When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but have light, have the light of life. So again, he is the light of this place. Not only the earth, he is the light on the earth, but he's also the light to the people in darkness. Another verse, as long as it is day, we must do the work of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am in the light of the world. While I'm here on this earth, I'm the light and the only truth on this earth to people and in this place. And the last verse that I believe proves that that you can use a terminology like world, and not only world, the whole world, because this next verse says that, the whole world. When they're speaking of, they're seeing Jesus come in on the donkey, and everybody's praising him and worshiping him. Of course we know that many of those people, there was a mix of people there. There were many people there who were following him at that moment, but they wanted him to be that Messiah. They wanted him to be that truth, but then later on rejected him. But there were also people there who stayed with him and believed. So right now, when the Pharisees are looking, they're referring to these people who are following him, whether they stay to the end or not, but there's a mix of those people. And what do they say? So the Pharisees said to one another, see, This is getting us nowhere. Us fighting him is getting us nowhere. Look how the whole world has gone after him. And this was in direct reference to people who are following him. Not who are against him, who are following him. So there's already a distinction there. There was many Pharisees who didn't believe him, who didn't want to follow him. Many people who didn't want to follow him. They were specifically referencing people at that moment who they saw were following him, wanted him. And so they use the terminology whole world, and I believe that is a proof to show that it can reference people who are just followers of Christ. So we end with that, and we get to John 3:16, and so we have to come to John 3:16 saying, wait a second, the Bible says in John 3:16, for God so loved the world. He loved the world this way. For God so loved the world. How did he love the world? That he gave his son up to what purpose? So that whoever would believe in him shall be saved. And again, we go to the definitions when you go to Greek. It's every believing one shall be saved, because it is literally only the ones who believe in him will be saved. And that was what Christ came to do, is that whoever would believe in him would be saved. It was